You have one chance to live.
Take anything you want.
Thank you.
Take anything!
Thank you. Now you're gonna tell me where to find the rest of Tintin's little party pals.
They all hang out at the pit. Little T-birds, little potato heads hang out there. Fun boy.
Fun boy.
Fun boy.
Each one of these is a life. A life you hope destroy.
Come back, don't kill me.
I'm not gonna kill you. Your job will be to tell the rest of them that death is coming for them.
Tell them Eric Draven sends his regards.
I'm gonna erase your sorry ass. You're nothing but street grease, you hear? Street grease, you mother...
Is that gasoline I smell?
Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss The Crow. Now this movie is from 1994 and it stars Brandon Lee. Now before we get into all things victims, aren't we all? I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm gonna give you guys a moment to do that, then we're gonna come back and discuss just how tragically dark this movie is. So much devastation and despair, but the real misfortune is what happened behind the camera. Just sad.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the film, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for it and requested it. So if you happen to go on a killing spree to avenge your long lost love, it's not because of me. It's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now, this movie was directed by Alex Proyas, who is mostly known for The Crow, I, Robot, Knowing, and Dark City. Shout out to Dark City. Shout out to The Matrix, way before The Matrix, the best slept on sci-fi action movie ever. If you have not seen Dark City, please go and watch it. Now, screenwriters David Schow and John Shirley were the perfect combination to bring The Crow, which is based on a comic book, to the big screen. David writing horrors like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, and John Shirley writing fantasy, science fiction, dark novels. And if it wasn't for the writer and illustrator of the Crow comic book pushing for directors and writers who really understood the vision of the comic, this would have been a completely different movie, with studios wanting Tim Burton to direct this movie, as well as for Michael Jackson to star in the lead role of Eric Draven, all while turning the movie into a musical. No. Absolutely not. Love Michael Jackson down, but no. All I am envisioning is 1997's Ghost. And who gave you the right to strip my family? And who gave you the right to strip my baby? She needs me. Come on now, dance now. The Michael Jackson experience on the Wii. Love it. Love it down. But this is not that kind of affair. James O'Barr wanted to keep this movie as dark, tragic, and close to the source material as possible. And getting into why he wrote and created the comic in the first place, I completely understand why. He wrote this to cope with the death of his actual fiancée, Beverly. In fact, the character of Shelley, the way that she is depicted in the film, character spirit is all based on Beverly, a fiancée he tragically lost in a car accident being hit by a drunk driver, which he internalized and blamed himself for completely because she just so happened to be on the way to pick him up. Experiencing that loss along with all of his childhood/adult trauma that he experienced throughout his entire life, you can really get into why the depiction of Eric and all of the characters in the comic book are so dark, which I miss so much. I always really love the dark, anti-hero, supernatural undertones of a character like Eric, who is clearly this tragic, eerie figure, but he isn't a villain. It's giving vigilante. Loved it down. Now, of course, with this coming out in 94, I was 4, so I rolled up on this later, but when I found it, I was so obsessed. Now, there are 3 other installments into this franchise that we ain't even gonna acknowledge. We're not even gonna talk about those. We're gonna focus on this one. So obsessed to the point that I watched the little trash TV series when it came on television along with Mortal Kombat. Oh, child, we was just watching stuff. But for a girl at the time who was discovering her love for Nirvana, Soundgarden, Hole, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, 9 Inch Nails, Korn, your girl was outside. Just such an alternative, angsty option, especially in a time of growing up when getting into movies like Batman Forever, which slaps, I don't care. All of the colorful, campy, kid-friendly, funny, pun-delivering, butt, nipple shots to the gods everywhere. A blunt return to the comics as well as those 1960s Batman and Robin series, trying to stray far away from the Tim Burton installments. And then around 2005, they said we're gonna drop that all together and get real dark. We're gonna get risky and start Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. It's gonna be unlike anything you've ever seen before. Cute, but try that on somebody who had not already seen Spawn, Blade, The Crow, Darkman, the Tim Burton installments, Batman Returns, which is my favorite. We had already been there, so I wasn't really impressed by them deciding to go dark with DC. Now, I really love Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker, and they really won me over last year getting into The Batman with Robert Pattinson. I was here for it, but I really feel like The Crow and other movies before often had an upper hand, especially in comparison to movies now, because they offered something different, and the movies were always rated R. We were not worried about trying to hit every single demographic. We could go dark and graphically explore themes of loss, grief, depression, assault, vigilantes with heart. Because child, if I have to see Batman's mama's pearls, string of pearls fall on the ground one more time, it's over. It is over. Thank you goodness for 2019's The Joker. Though the mama's pearls did fall on the ground, it was a pivot. It was with purpose. It was so different because pivot me. And of course, we have to get into Brandon Lee. So many other actors were up for this role, and he was not even thought of and had to really fight for it. River Phoenix, Johnny Depp, Bon Jovi, Christian Slater, among so many others. But not only did he fight, he got into the stunt work, the choreography, heavily involved with the crew, and of course, did majority of his own stunts. This movie is a true testament of him, not only as an actor, but as a performer. You just see so much passion come through, and you love him in this role. You love him as an actor, even though this is probably the only movie that you ever got to see him in. Now, I've seen, one or two, but just because I had to seek them out. Unfortunately, he did not get a chance to star in any other films. Sadly, at the young age of 28, Brandon was fatally wounded on the set of this movie by a revolver gun with what should have been filled with a blank bullet, all while a dummy bullet that is not designed to be shot at anyone at close range was lodged in the chamber, shooting Brandon in the abdomen. Very, very sad, especially when you witness the talent that he has here. You can tell that this was a really big opportunity and role for him to really low-key honor his father's legacy while also doing something completely different and coming from underneath his shadow. But instead of this handsome man becoming the force that he could have been, he lies next to his father, who unfortunately died at a young age of 32 years old. Just so sad. Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury slaps. Now we open this movie on Devil's Night to a crime scene with narration from Sarah, with what looks to have should have been the happiest time in both Eric and Shelley's life has turned tragic, with both of them unfortunately losing their lives. Even though Officer Albert seems to be one of the few who cares, nobody actually picks up the pieces after the murder, so nobody pays for what happened. Continuing this running theme of loss, love, and loneliness in this movie, there is just such a deep sense of despair, with not only the officer being estranged from his wife, but little Sarah skateboarding around this dark, deceptive neighborhood all alone at night because her drug-addicted, neglectful mother, Darla, just can't seem to be bothered. Meanwhile, the only two people in her life that actually could are now dead. A crow grants Eric the option to return, not only acting as a guide of what used to be Eric's former life, but also treading his memory to even see why he and Shelley ended up dead in the first place. It's for Eric to seek out vengeance for himself as well as Shelley. Now, I don't know why I often remember the whole scenario being some type of discrepancy at the club, a discrepancy with Johnny, Eric, and the band. It wasn't none of that. All of this happened over an eviction. These four local degenerates, T-Bird, Tintin, Funboy, and Stank, broke in and attacked Shelley for protesting evictions that were happening in the building. But I completely did not acknowledge that or connection that it has to this gang running amok in this city, blowing up different properties, I'm assuming to profit off of them. I'm absolutely sure that I was distracted by all the fire it up, fire it. I was distracted. That distracted me to where I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. Now, I always really enjoyed the premise of this movie and the idea that a crow could bring Eric back. According to Native Americans, the mythology of the crow that is here in this movie is an actual, factual, real thing. Crows symbolize darkness, death, danger, illness, misfortune, while at the same time, they can mean light, loyalty, rebirth, intelligence. It's often aggressive type of bird, and I feel like the character of Eric really encapsulates that. I also don't feel like this movie gets enough credit for its world building. It is so dark. It is so dark in this sense of desperation, this lack of happiness. It just feels like Shelley and Eric found their own little corner of the world to be happy in their own way, but there is practically no color in this movie aside from these undertones of red and orange when necessary, really often used for Eric's flashbacks when he figures out what happened to Shelley, as well as when he is reflecting on how happy they once were. His performance as an actor, as well as the graphics, cinematography, him jumping over those rooftops are some of the most memorable things to me, as well as this movie soundtrack consisting of the Stone Temple Pilots, 9 Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, but I think mostly it's known for The Cure's Burn. Don't look, the shadows breathe.
What?
Whispering me away from you. Don't wake at night to watch her sleep. You know that you will always lose. Slaps, slaps. Every night I burn. Every night I call your name. Come on, the originators, the Cure, the originators of the emo hair. Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me waste my time. I'll put this down. Also, getting into things that should have pretty much been common sense, but enjoying the movie, especially when you're younger, you don't really think about the fact that Brandon Lee couldn't finish a lot of things for this movie due to his death. So a lot of the things here were done by stuntman body doubles, them digitally imposing his face on somebody else's body. All of the dark, shadowy imagery really helped this movie because we didn't really have to see him all the time. So really great scenes like the one in the beginning when he burst into the vacant apartment, he's all distressed, going into those memories of Shelley, begins to apply that makeup, bursts out the window, swings to the top, lands. Like, it's great, it's awesome. Not him. Absolutely not him. But that's just a testament to how good this movie is. Everything looks so seamless that you don't even acknowledge the fact that, you know what, that's not Brandon Lee. Or the makeup artist not wanting the makeup to look so perfect that he would have Brandon apply it, sleep in it to give it this distressed, funky look. Like, really good stuff. Now, Eric doesn't strictly come back as sexy Eric with his deep voice. Ow, hey. He has powers. The telepathic visions he has with the crow, he's stronger, agile, he has the ability to heal really rapidly, heightened senses, touch someone and feel their emotions. He is pretty much immortal as long as the crow still stands. Now, the deaths here in this movie are not only creative, but they are done with purpose. You also have him low-key committing these really poetic deaths, all while leaving his calling card of the crow behind. We have the knife-toting Tintin, because they never miss, experience this first. Not only is the stunt work really great and Eric have one of the best laughs ever, but you also have Eric be meticulous, killing each and every one of the gang members with their own vice. Tintin with knives, T-Bird who's into arson with fire, Fun Boy with heroin, and Shank with he was just an idiot. He just got what was coming to him. None of them valuing anybody else's life, but caring so much about their own and not wanting to die. And then we give Eric this Shakespearean deep flair with the oh so quotable dialogue that he uses in the movie. Victims, aren't we all? And I say I'm dead and I move. Mother is the name for God on the lips and the hearts of all children. And my favorite, it can't rain all the time. Such a layered character. Where Eric can be this dark angel of death, he can also be a ray of light, inspiration, and mercy to others. You really like Eric and enjoy the fact that he has more purpose, humanity, and care than most of the people who are actually alive. Just in the short time that he is alive, he makes time to be tragic and bring death, but he is also charismatic and funny. Making time for the likes of Sarah, who just knows without a doubt deep in her heart that he is still alive, feeling him, sensing him, but even though he doesn't want to really indulge in that connection, I'm not actually alive. I can't stay here. I came out here to do one thing, but I still care. I can bring this heavy hand of death all while making time to joke with the detective who had enough heart to really invest time into this case, stay with Shelley while she died. There are still good people here with great intent and purpose, someone who is willing to invest time in this case, as well as become a helping hand to me when I need him. Or acknowledge in that short time that even though I can't be here for Sarah, her mother is right here. Your daughter is out there and she needs you. Such a really great scene that shows the separation of Eric in both sides that he could be on at any moment. That is also the scene with Michael Massey, the actor who portrays Fun Boy. He unfortunately is the actor who pulled the trigger on Brandon Lee, and to my knowledge, he has never watched this film in completion or really at all because he just couldn't handle it. And lastly, rounding out the movie as well as the cast, as if Eric didn't have enough people to kill, we have the likes of Michael Wincott. Really great voices here. The voice is always voicing. I do not understand why he didn't do more voiceover work, because the voice, it'll give you some chills right up there with Tony Todd. But Michael is here as Johnny with his bundles, drugs, the occult, and what looks to be a sense of dark magic. He is here with his sister slash girlfriend, Bylene. Bylene looks really gorgeous here. portraying what she's really good at portraying: sexy, dark, and disturbed. Now, Top Dollar not only orchestrates and controls everything moving, but he also has this sense of feeling all powerful and untouchable. Above all else, even though evidence is clearly in his face, he never believes in the myth of Eric Draven returning for his vengeance. As long as my woman and my right-hand man, Tony Todd, is on my side, there is nothing I can't defeat. Now, I always wish that as a villain he was utilized more, but I know that that doesn't really match up with Eric's agenda and him solely coming out to kill who wronged him, aka our 4 little lackeys. Even in the end, stating that I am only here for Skank, I want him, I don't care about any of you. It still would have been really epic to get more back and forth and banter between the two of them, especially with Top Dollar feeling invincible and immortal and the likes of Eric actually being that. Which is why, instead of running for his life like everybody else, once he finally accepted the fact that Eric is actually, I'm like, how much evidence you need? The grave is empty. Once we accepted the fact that he is an undead, powerful vigilante, we decide to isolate time to try to conquer him, defeat him, and maybe even take some of his power. Realizing that the crow is the source of it. Once again, another being walking through that city, not valuing anybody else's life. Now, the ending showdown is really good. Before we even get to the standoff, I love him returning back to the grave, just feeling like his mission was accomplished. I only set out to kill 4 particular people. Now I can go back to where I belong. That whole exchange that he has with Sarah, them kind of low-key saying goodbye, it really feels like we are also saying goodbye from an audience standpoint, knowing that we will never see Brandon Lee in a film again. It's very, very bittersweet, but we also get to see just how selfless the character of Eric Draven is, going out for a second time the same way he went out the first time, giving his life for somebody else's. Of course, the first time being him trying to save Shelly, and now he is trying to save Sarah, leading us back to his humanity. Eric is dead. Unlike the likes of Top Dollar and Bylene, who are kidnapping a child. I live for that poetic moment that Bylene gets those eyes pecked out. She's been checking and taking out people's eyes the entire movie. Getting her comeuppance by getting her eyes pecked out is always a really good scene. Along with Eric's humanity, even in the end being reciprocated by the likes of the detective who comes to help him when it just feels like he is defeated and the enemy has the upper hand because they shot the crow. Just really good symbolic stuff. Even when we get all the way up to the roof and we get to Top Dollar, who just wants all powerful, all being, I want some of what Eric has. Fine, I'll give you something that I have. I'm gonna give you all these painful memories of what happened to Shelly. And once we trickle it down, things that you caused, which we mentally can't handle, causing us to fall to our death. And of course, before that, we get a really good sword fight. And even though the movie is so tragic, we do manage to end on a happy note, even acknowledging the fact that not only does Sarah now have her mother who is trying, she also has the detective who is going to be there in her corner. And we even have Shelly come back in all white. Really symbolic to me that we have Shelly arrive in white, kind of an image of them getting the wedding that they never had, the closure that they never had, dying separately away from each other, but now we have her here to welcome him to the other side so they can join. Like, that was really, really beautiful, because real love never dies. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I had not watched the credits for this movie in a minute, so when I saw that it was dedicated to Brandon as well as Eliza, I was like, who's Eliza? Just too much life imitating art here in this movie. Brandon was supposed to get married to his then fiancée in 1993 before he passed away. So they dedicated this movie to him as well as her. So will we have him depicted in this movie as losing his fiancée? His real life fiancée lost her soon to be husband. Now there is also a remake coming out in 2024 of this movie, and it will star Bill Skarsgård in the lead role of Eric Draven. Please drop down and let me know how you guys feel about that. I love Bill, but I'm never really here for any remakes, especially something as epic as The Crow. They have been trying for years to get a remake off the ground, and it really feels like at this point it's actually going to happen. Not only a remake, but turn The Crow into a full-blown franchise with multiple installments. I'm always going to compare. There are always going to be comparisons to Brandon Lee's take on this role. Not that I don't absolutely love me some Bill Skarsgård, but I don't know. This is maybe one of those things that I feel like should be left alone, but you never know. This movie was an absolute staple for me. I still love it till this day. And maybe with that, it'll go on to be a staple for a younger generation. Drop down and let me know. Well, you guys, that was my review for The Crow. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and leave a black heart, a crow, something for the likes of this movie, as well as pay your respects to Brandon Lee. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Let me know how you feel about my commentary. Did you learn anything new from this review? Do you love this movie just as much as I do? And would you ever be here for a remake? I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Be sure to turn those notifications on, like, share, subscribe, because it helps me out. I see you guys next time for my next review. Bye.